Good morning and welcome to the Yoga Teacher Collaborative weekly live show. We are just a minute or so early to give you time to come and find us. So if you're already here, hang around a moment and we will begin in just a tick. I'm also going to find us on our computer so that we can connect in the comments. Okay, so I can see a few of you are live with me today. Thank you for joining me live. Lauren, good morning. Lauren's second podcast episode has just come out today. I am driving to the beach on Sunday, so we'll be really looking forward to listening to that then. Tracy, good morning. Catherine, welcome. Hello. Marissa, hello and welcome. I said that is 10:30. There's a few of you here, so we will begin. Welcome to the weekly live show. If we haven't met yet, my name is Laura Green. I am a yoga teacher, a teacher trainer, and a business mentor for yoga teachers. I help yoga teachers to thrive by serving your community the best you can, and also being well rewarded financially, energetically, and spiritually for the life-changing work you do. The weekly live show is 20 minutes of bite-sized trainings to help you thrive. So far, the live shows have all covered business, from marketing, attracting new students, and today I wanted to actually look a little bit more at teaching skills. Teaching skills, obviously, so that we can be serving the community the best we can, but equally to be successful as a yoga teacher, we want to be elevating our teaching skills as well as elevating our skills in business. Nothing separates. So, how to increase your class numbers, which yes means more monetary rewards from teaching, but also that you're serving and changing more lives with accessible yoga teaching. As always, I have some notes to keep me on topic. So if you see me looking down, that is what I am doing. So as you've heard me say many a time before, for me, yoga is about serving my community. So who is your community? When you look around, who is your community and how can you serve? I believe, as I'm sure you do, and comment if you agree, that yoga is for everyone. Everyone should have the opportunity to attend, experience, and be welcome into yoga. Yoga is life-changing, be it that it changes your relationship with your body, be it that it changes your relationship with, say, back pain, be it that it revolutionizes your mental health, be that it connects you to a spiritual practice. Whatever it is for anyone, yoga is a positive effect in people's lives. And I think it should be accessible to everyone. But when I look around at yoga classes, my own included, I see a narrow demographic of the community that is attending the class. We are doing the best we can, I know that. There's simple tweaks and changes we continue to do as we grow and evolve that will help us serve more of the communities. So please don't be harsh on yourself, don't be critical of yourself. Think of ways that you can elevate what you do. It is not possible to accommodate all people in all classes. To keep everybody happy, to keep everybody safe, to keep everybody experiencing yoga, we need to have a few bespoke classes or courses that specially look after different groups of people in our community. And I think it is our responsibility as yoga teachers to be putting on a broader spectrum of classes to serve the community. So it's all well and good having our 7 p.m. vinyasa class for predominantly abled bodies, but what else are we putting on? Are we putting on classes to look after people with less able bodies, people in care homes, people in rural communities, people that are in chairs, people with different learning styles and learning abilities? We should all be having at least 1 or 2 of these community classes that are looking after a broader spectrum of people. But let's put that to one side and see in your more general open classes, what we would call mixed level classes, although I don't like that phrase, mixed level open classes, how can we make more people feel comfortable in those sorts of classes? And invariably, it simply requires a little bit more thought, care, and upgrading skills. I'm not talking about you combining a chair yoga class and a vinyasa class in the same practice. I'm not talking about that level of accessibility. Just make them 2 different classes. But in your general, open, mixed level classes, how can we make more people feel welcome? So first of all, I'd like you to ask yourself, and this is you, this is personal, ask yourself, what do we mean when we're talking about accessible? And obviously that is a cliche term, talk about accessible yoga that has a label and a meaning, but just strip it back to the word accessible, to have access to something. What does that mean? And what do we need for things to be accessible? We need people to feel welcome. That's a big difference, to make people feel welcome. So if a new student is coming to class, do they feel welcome? Do you greet them at the door with a big smiling face, show them where to put their belongings, introduce them to someone and make them feel welcome? That goes a long way to being accessible. Do you remember that movie Pretty Woman, when Julia Roberts walks into that expensive boutique shop and the staff look at her like she is not welcome because their fashion wasn't accessible to her? She didn't have enough money, was their presumption. So when new people are coming into a class, maybe it's a gentleman and he looks around the room and he's the only man. Maybe it's someone young and they look around the room and everyone's a lot older. Or the other way, maybe a class is full of younger people and someone walks in that is older. Or your class is more slim people and someone more curvaceous walks in. When we go into a new space, we tend to notice how we are different to the people in there. We notice how we are different, and if we feel different, we feel not welcome, and then it feels not accessible. We can overcome that as the teachers by immediately making a smiley, greety, friendly, welcome and introducing someone so that everybody feels welcome, seen and acknowledged. Everyone feels like they are in the right place. No one wants to feel out of place. Okay. Just looking at my notes. Okay, so when we are welcoming new people into a space, when we are getting new people to class, most people will walk into your yoga class with a sports or business mindset. A lot of people think yoga is an exercise form, and that's fine. If that's where they start, that's great. Get them in from that, and then they'll find the wonders of yoga later. But as people walk in with that sports or business mindset, it's the mindset of competition, mindset of I can be good or bad at something, the mindset of I need to give 100%, I need to push myself, the mindset of comparing, looking at what you can do and comparing that to someone else. We know this isn't yoga, but you have to keep putting yourself back in the shoes of a new person. When someone walks in, take the time to explain to students, actually explain in an opening one-to-one chat. Yoga is quite different to other parts of our life. This is a completely non-competitive space. It is about you listening to your body. It's not about what the poses look like. So explain this to new people because they don't know it. And then when you're teaching, make sure that how you're teaching is backing that up. And I don't see this happen very often. I see as yoga teachers, we're saying yoga's non-competitive. But then when we're exploring different variations of poses, we'll say things like, this is the beginner's level. Or if you want to challenge yourself, come deeper into this stretch today. We're undermining with how we're cueing, which brings me on to levels. How do you think about levels? Beginner to experienced. A level 1, 2, or 3 class, beginner to advanced. I want us to completely change how we think about levels. So to some degree it is correct. A new student needs more instruction and support because everything is new. For me, an advanced student is nothing to do with physically what they can achieve, but how familiar they are with yoga. So if I had an advanced student, I would hope to be able to say, step your right foot forwards, rise up, warrior 2. I wouldn't say that to a new person because that wouldn't be accessible. They need me to tell them how to put their body. So let's stop thinking about beginner to advanced, and let's start thinking in terms of knowledge. New, not knowledgeable yet in the practice of yoga, to knowledgeable, knows their poses and knows how to listen to their body. So no more level 1, 2, 3. This is the intermediate option, the advanced option. Change that way of thinking. Because even in a beginner's class or an experienced class, there are still different physical abilities. Simply because we're all unique. We are all different and we have different challenges and different things that we find easier. So this is why we teach variations in poses. And I want you to look at how are you cueing, introducing different variations. So by way of example, in class this week, I was teaching bow pose, lying on your tummy and taking the legs. That is a pose that is not accessible to all people because it requires a lot of strength and flexibility. So rather than saying, we're doing bow pose now, if this is too much for you, straighten your legs. Okay, that's not accessible teaching. That feeds into the world of challenge. Instead, you teach poses from the simplest, I don't want to say easiest, simplest, most straightforward, most accessible option, and then you layer variations on. So first of all, we came into locust pose. And then from locust, there is the option to take one leg and do half bow, the option to take 2 legs and take bow pose. Now, not only was it teaching it from the most simplistic version up into a harder variation, but it's actually making people understand what are the different benefits of each variation of the pose so that they're not thinking easy to hard. So when we were coming into locust, I explained that you might wish to stay with locust. This pose is the best at strengthening the muscles of your back. Or you can reach as if to take one leg, but don't quite grab it. Hold that heel into your bottom. This variation activates your hamstrings. Or reach and take a hold of the foot, no longer strengthening the hamstrings, but is stretching your quadriceps. So it's completely changing how my students view the options. It's no longer about them thinking easy to hard option, but selecting what benefit they want. Did they want the back strengthening, the hamstring strengthening, or the quad stretch? And you're getting people to choose. Yes, so when you're offering variations of poses, teach from the more simplistic version, explain the different benefits, and also teach from the pose that's the variation that's lowest to the ground, and then give options to take poses higher from the ground. because the lower we are to the ground, the more grounded and stable we are. So think about a lunge, doing the knee down option first, then with the option to add the knee up, whilst avoiding saying things like, if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to work harder today, you can say things like keeping that back knee down to feel grounded, or lift that back knee up if you want to explore how to balance in this pose. Okay, so it's really how are we introducing variations. So moving on from that, looking at accessibility further in language. We have a lot of habitual language, and I am always trying to upgrade my language. By no point is it ever perfect. I come out of one habit and then I notice another. So I don't beat myself up. I'm permanently trying to elevate. So your language biases, things you don't notice, can have a huge effect. Simple things such as just say downward facing dog. Started with a bent knee, downward facing dog. Just straighten your legs. Just draw your heels to the ground. Crow, just lift your feet. Navasana, just extend your legs. The word just, it implies easy. And something might be easy for you, but might be very hard for a student. So you might mean nothing by the word just. It's a filler word. But it is a filler word with a lot of energy. So be aware of the word just. The other word I'd like you to be aware of is pop, in two sense. Just pop your knee up here. I don't use pop, so I'm not thinking of many examples, but I hear it a lot. Just pop your foot forwards by your hand, stepping forwards. Again, pop makes things sound easy, and it's probably just a habit. Side note on pop, I'd like people to try and stop saying, when you're doing live videos, I'm just popping on here to say. It's habit, it means nothing, it's filler. Just get on and say what you wanted to say. As my friend Michelle says, nothing should pop other than popcorn. Another word, a habit filler word that's very charged, is telling people how to feel in a stretch. Pigeon, coming into a lovely glute stretch. It might be lovely for you, but if it is not lovely for your students, again, this is stopping your classes being accessible. They're making someone feel that they're having the wrong experience. So you can tell people what theoretically the benefit of a pose is. Pigeon, you may feel the sensation of stretch in your outer hip. You might feel it elsewhere. Explore. So you can explore sort of theoretically what someone might feel, but don't tell them this is lovely, what a gorgeous stretch. Really stops accessibility. Gender. Looking at gender, just quite simply, there's broad spectrums we can go into with this, but simply male, female in the class, or how people might identify as male or female. We're not seeing a broad enough spectrum there, but do you have bias in your language as a female yoga teacher, if you are, that is very female orientated, that might make a man feel less like he is at home in the right place? So an absolute example, and I used to say this, I don't say it anymore, is to bring something to like bra strap level. Yes, a man knows where a bra strap is, but instantly they're having to translate that female language into what they're doing. Now, if you are teaching a class, like I'm teaching a course this weekend on connecting to the divine feminine, I don't have any men booked into that. It was in the niche, so I don't have to be so aware of that language. But if I want men to be welcome into my class, I need to be aware of female biased language that isn't making them feel welcome and at home. Same goes with religion. Religion and spirituality. We all have a right to our own religious and spiritual beliefs, and we all have a right to be able to experience yoga regardless of that. So again, it's simple things such as bringing your hands to prayer. Okay, I think this makes our classes a little less accessible because saying prayer hands again is charged language. So can you say bring your hands to heart center, bring your palms together, bring your hands into Anjali Mudra. Okay? So things like languages that could make the class feel less accessible to people of different religion or spiritual backgrounds. Jargon. We use a lot of jargon in class. I've been teaching a back strengthening pose this week that I simply called Emperor Penguin. But I could have said, bring your hands posterior, retract your scapula to engage your rhomboids. That's an extreme example of jargon, but are you using technical jargon, yoga jargon, anatomy jargon that your students don't understand? It doesn't mean you can't use it, but you have to explain it. So I could have said, we're going to be doing a back strengthening pose today. I want you to imagine you're an emperor penguin. For your learning, what this is doing is it's retracting, drawing back your shoulder blades, your scapula, to strengthen your rhomboids, that are the muscles between your shoulder blades. So are you using jargon that other people don't understand that is stopping your class feeling accessible to them? When we come back to religion and gender, obviously age-based language. I have people in my class that range from 20 to 80 in the same class. Is my language thinking that it is open and welcome to all of them? And props. One last tip on props. So if you're teaching a class with props such as chairs, if you say to one student, do you want to use a chair? They might not. So if you've got a class where you think more people will need the support of the chair, you don't want to single some people out. So for instance, in some of my gentle yoga classes which use a chair for some people, I lay out the room in advance and I put a chair at the back of every single person's mat, and we all begin the class on the chair or whatever prop you are using if you're using props. Then that breaks down the stereotype that a prop is somehow lesser or weaker or it's not proper by everybody starting in the chair. So for instance, last week I taught the moon salute in the chair. Then some people stayed in the chair, some people did it from standing, but we all started in the chair. Okay? The chair is just put out there rather than, if you want, go get a chair. So this has been very, very light touch, things I just want you to start thinking about. In your open classes, your open community classes, I also urge you to put on more bespoke classes to serve differing demographics in your community that you couldn't keep safe in an open class. And that is always your prerogative. If you feel that you can't support someone's needs in your class, you don't have to make the class accessible for everybody. You could say, I feel it would be best if we started maybe with a one-to-one, look at how we can adapt the yoga for the experience of you, and then flow into a group class. Okay? Or you can create niche groups such as a chair class so that you're supporting more people. There is so many places to go for more information and more research. You could look into trauma-informed yoga. We haven't even touched that. How do you make a class accessible and safe for people's different trauma experiences, for mental health? Okay? More accessible with different body parts, different conditions. So this is just not even the tip of the iceberg. Open the thoughts. Be aware of your bias, your language patterns, and what we can do to make more people feel welcome, seen, and safe. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to stay in the comments for a bit, have a chat, answer some questions. So let's go and continue into the comments. I hope to see you next week for Wellbeing Wednesday, 11 o'clock on Wednesday, and the weekly live show again on Friday. I'd say if you have taken any value from any of the sessions we do together, please could I ask you to invite another yoga teacher to the group. Please don't do it by sharing the invite link in the group because they don't see that. If you would like to, send a message to a friend of yours, tell them about this group, tell them why it's helped you, and send them the link so they can request to join. That would be a wonderful way if you've had any value from these sessions today. Thank you for your time and enjoy your weekend.